Hello, everyone. This is the Rough Diamond Podcast. And
Hello.
hello, I love it when
Hey,
Tori says hello. She has a very nice podcast voice. Hello.
Thanks. Hello.
Introducing my beautiful co-host, Tori Wilson. Tori Williston. I don't know your name.
I go by so many.
You made it so ambiguous in this
So ambiguous.
podcast.
Listen, this was the master plan all along.
Uh,
Mwah. No, so I am Victoria Williston, also known as Tori Williston, and on a special occasion, Toria Wilson. But if you need more information about that, you can revisit our old podcast because we go into it multiple times. But I'm really excited to be here today, and we've got Marshall on the phone with us today, Marshall
yep,
Metz, or on the phone on the podcast with us. And yeah, excited to have you here, Marshall.
I'm excited to be here. It's good to see you guys.
It's good to see you too. So we are doing the Rough Diamond podcast is currently doing a sobriety and recovery series inspired by our wonderful two-part podcast with Daria. Daria is one of my really close friends. She was in rehab with me whenever I was 20 years old, and we did a two-part series where we explored all kinds of crazy things. We talked about everything. It was a beautiful, wonderful podcast. If you haven't checked it out, you guys should all check it out. It's really awesome. I think it's called, what is it called? Love is the shit.
That was at least one of them.
At least one of them. Love is the shit. And we talk a lot about poop in that podcast. So
We do.
you think poop is funny. You
Do you think poop is funny?
You should listen to it. And so, Marshall, before we got on air, we were chit-chatting a little bit about how I know you and how I know Tori. So I think we could start there. I think that's a great place to start. I met Marshall through a mutual friend whenever I was searching up people to do this podcast. She was like, here's 10 people. Talk to all these people. I was like, okay, I was just scheduling everybody to sending out messages. I was like, wow, thanks, Ash. She hooked it up. So our mutual friend, me and Marshall's mutual friend, Ashley, she's this cool metalhead chick from Texas. She was always really small. So she always had like a nickname like Little Bit or something like that. She was a tiny person, human. And I was sharing a little bit, since this is a recovery and sobriety podcast, we do know that probably the people that are on this podcast might have had issues in the past with maintaining sobriety over any period of time. It could have been hours, minutes. Tori has shared before that she craved Dos Equis when she woke up in the morning.
No, I not only Dos Equis, Jaeger. I
Yes.
craved Jaeger and Dos Equis first thing in the morning. That's not normal.
Absolutely not normal. I was never to the point where I craved alcohol whenever I woke up. I usually craved water, but and Thai food. Generally. Spicy Szechuan. Whenever Anthony Bourdain says spicy Szechuan for a hangover, I was like, yep, that's right. Word up, bro. That's exactly it. And so I met Ashley. I worked at a bar on one end of a shopping center, and she worked at the bar on the other end of a shopping center. And I had gone down to her bar and gotten pretty freaking shit-faced and just conveniently walked the tab. I think it was Halloween. It was super busy night, and then I wasn't like, they were like reaching out to me to come pay it, and I wasn't coming down there to pay it. Ashley came down there with Noreen, which is one of mine and Tori's mutual friends, and she was like, Noreen is very serious business. She has serious eyebrows kicking sometimes.
Yeah.
You better not fuck around.
hmm
Eyebrows like
The
that.
Rock ain't got nothing on her.
She's gonna fucking kill your whole family eyebrows. And so okay, so little bit because Ashley's little, she brought down to talk to us or talk to me rather, and
Yeah.
course, I paid the tab right then. I'm like, and because Noreen's my friend, and she knew that if she came down there, it wasn't going to be like she gave me one little baby eyebrow, and that was about it. And she got her money, but it was funny because it was like it was a muscle situation. So Marshall, tell me how you know Ashley.
From the metal scene, just all over from the metal scene. I met her once I got into recovery though, and haven't really interacted with her or talked to her too much, but I know her from like all the metal scene and everything. And I was like blown away when she's, hey, I want you to meet a friend of mine. Maybe you can go on her podcast. I was like, yeah, like I'm down for that. That this is something new for me. So this is always great. But craving Dos Equis and Jaeger, been there.
Yeah.
I think that's, to me, that was pretty normal. I think it
Um,
would be strange if somebody didn't, but apparently most people did not,
yeah.
as I come to find out later on. But no, I get that. Yeah. And when she told me that she wanted me to talk to you, I was like, hell yeah, let's fucking do this thing, man.
Amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. I would drink Jaeger as soon as I woke up. There was like it didn't matter if I craved it or not. I would still drink it. There was one day my friend came over. He's so sweet too. I'm still friends with him to this day. But he came over with a bottle of Jaeger, and it was morning, and we were doing shots, and I had a bad tooth, and I took a shot, and it dropped me to my knees because of the sugar in the Jaeger. And he immediately was like, get in the truck. And he took me to get my tooth fixed. So good friends are good to have. Maybe not to bring Jaeger to your house, but if they do it, at least they're responsible enough to pay for the bill to get your tooth fixed if you're dying. So that was nice. But yeah, but we want to talk recovery and not old war stories. There's a lot of fun stories, and there's a lot of craziness, and there's a lot of all of that. And I do like to sprinkle them into the podcast because they're entertaining, but at the same time, we always want to be productive with our recovery and be working on a positive trajectory towards maintaining sobriety. And part of maintaining sobriety is facing your shadow and making jokes about all of what you've done, the stupid shit that you've done. And then the rest of it is looking towards the future and being present. So
Yep.
let's be present. So Marshall, before we get in the story, who are you outside of recovery? Like, how do you introduce yourself to the world now?
I just tell them, hey, I'm Marshall. I don't really identify anymore as anything other than who I am. Most of the time, being in the field that I'm in, like recovery is just a part of it, working in recovery, being part of the legal system and things like that. Most of the time, people already know who I am from those kind of entities and things. But if I'm just out and about and I'm meeting new people, I don't even really tell them what I do for the longest time. I'm just like, hey, let's hang out. Let's have some fun. Let's go to a show. Let's eat some pizza, whatever.
It sounds
Yeah.
like you're enjoying being present.
I do. I love being present. And that's part of the recovery. Can't do anything about yesterday. Tomorrow's not here, but what are we going to do today? And like I've taken on that philosophy in all areas of my life, and it's really helped me out quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I definitely see a completely different person in myself at this point. I don't really see the old me there anymore. I think it would be very foreign for me to take a shot of Jägermeister today. I think it would be very foreign for me to smoke a cigarette today. I think that those
Same.
would be very weird for me to even do
Mhm.
or have in my general vicinity. I feel like that's not necessarily true for everybody once they get onto the other side. And I think that the reason why that is different for me is because I did move forward on positive things, and I was really present, and I did do that shadow work and that deep work so that I could get to that place where I was like, oh, that's gross. If I smelled Jaeger in my house right now, I'd be fucking pissed. I would be like, what is that fucking smell? Get it out of here. I would be upset. If somebody was smoking a cigarette in my house, oh my gosh. My brother's coming this weekend and he smokes cigarettes, and I'm gonna die. I'm going to fucking die. Yes. All right. Okay, so take me back. So what was life supposed to look like? What were you chasing before everything changed? What take me back in the day, whenever you were using and how all of that started. Go as deep as you want to go. You don't have to go crazy.
Sure. Pretty much an open book. I've told my story and what got me to where I'm at multiple times. For me, it's probably like a lot of people. My family growing up, my parents both used substances and they were alcoholics and addicts. I was pushed aside. There's an old saying that I hear all the time, and I think it's funny because I hear, oh, nobody wants to grow up to be a drug addict. And looking back on my life, no, that's exactly what I wanted to do because that was the whole family dynamic. That's how we got along. That's how everybody socialized. So even before I ever used, there was that mentality of I want to be like them. But childhood was rough. It was really rough. The trauma, every which way you can think about it, physical, emotional, sexual abuse, all that stuff happened. And my parents just didn't care for me for the longest time until that day came. Whenever I began drinking a little bit with them around 8 or 9 years old, began smoking weed with them, of course. By the time I was 12, I graduated to cocaine and LSD with them. And then on my 13th birthday, they introduced me to IV drugs in the form of meth and heroin. But the thing with all that is due to so much trauma and feeling unwanted and unaccepted, I was trying to deal with some pain that I didn't even know was pain at the time. All I knew is that I had all these weird thoughts of why me, like, why is this stuff happening to me? What's wrong with me? And whenever I began using that stuff went away. By the time I was 15, my dad went into treatment. He'd come home, kicked me out of the house because I was using, and I began couch surfing, living on the streets and things like that. And that was pretty much my life for the longest time. There was a point in my life when nobody knew where I was. One of the things that really hurt was I was in Los Angeles. I was living on Skid Row. I was sleeping on a sidewalk and did that for many years. Until one day I walked into a Walmart and I seen my picture on a missing persons report. And
Wow.
that was the moment that I realized that even after all these years that my family had wanted me to come home. And so like when I called the number, my dad ended up driving from Northern California. It was like a 10-hour drive. He put me up in a hotel. He fed me. He gave me $100 in a bus ticket and said I was going to Alabama where my mom was. And after I got out to Alabama for about 3 days, I hated life. I was full of embarrassment and shame. The family I grew up in were substantially well off. Being a part of the homeless network for many years, I couldn't really be around anybody that wasn't using. And I just felt so bad about myself. And then I got caught up in the legal system. And my turning point was basically like a lot of people's. I was in a storage unit. I was sitting there on the ground, and my only thought was is that I wanted to kill myself. And I begged for help to a God that I didn't believe in. And my prayer was answered the very next morning whenever task force swarmed the place and arrested me. Of course, at that point, I'm just thinking, I'm going to fucking prison. That's this. But I took a drug court and I actually found a better way of life slowly over time once they sent me to treatment. I took 90 days worth of treatment and turned it into a year-long program, got out, stayed connected, kept going back every single day and helping the new person that come in. I'd be like, hey, so never seen you here. You're on day one. Let me show you around. Let me tell you about what's going on, where you're going to eat, where group is. And eventually it turned into something I was just helping others. And I didn't want anything in return. I just wanted to share my experience with somebody else. Eventually, I began working at a treatment center overnights, and 2 over a week turned into three overnights a week turned into a better shift of an evening shift, a 3 to 11. Part-time turned to full-time. Then I went back and got my peer certification and started doing college and all kinds of stuff. And next thing I was program director over 2 facilities.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and recently I've transitioned out of the residential and went in with a partner of mine who was actually My therapist, whenever I was in treatment 9 years ago, we opened up our own place and we have two buildings doing IOP and outpatient services, mental health services, family counseling, like all of it.
What is it
That's amazing.
called?
What?
What is that place called?
Genesis Counseling.
Where are you guys located?
We have an office in Fairhope, Alabama, and one in Saraland, Alabama, two different counties.
Alabama, and you guys are in need, or if you know somebody that's in need, this is the place to take them. This person, Marshall's been through it, you guys. He knows. And
Yeah.
he's grinding it out. And that's a beautiful story. I think we are all deserving of a comeback. And I think once we start understand, I say remembering, but it's also understanding and remembering at the same time. It's remembering who you are, because you don't start off a drug addict. You start off a kid, and you start off a kid that's just doing the thing and enjoying life. And then you have to find your way back to that. And that's like it's like a trick. It's not a trick. It's like the secret of life. Like in City Slickers, what is Curly's the secret of life? Finger. And
Yeah.
the secret of life is remembering what it was you were like before everybody told you who you were. And
For
that
sure.
is such a profound thing. And we all have the power to do that. We can decide. I was wonderfully gifted by the universe a book that is called The Voice of Knowledge. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. Inexplicably found in my suitcase whenever I came back from my mom's memorial in Texas and Oklahoma that I put together for her. And this book really breaks down what it is it's Toltec wisdom, but they infused it with their Christianity and beliefs in Jesus and stuff like that. And it's very beautiful and higher power related and conceptual. And they talk about how everybody, I say they because they all author these books together, but they talk about how we have all been taught just what other people believe about us. And basically, all of that stuff that we're filled with is lies. And we have to transcend those lies to come back to who we were originally. And then we expand on that with the knowledge that we've gained of self throughout the journey. And it's been very profound. I've had a journey with the Ruizes, that family in general. I really appreciate them a lot, more than words can even say, because of those books and because of their kindness to me. I've been lucky enough to meet Don Jose Ruiz and chat a little bit with Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and they are just very kind and loving people. And it is just beautiful that they were able to bring that idea to the world. And I think that bringing that idea and having recovery dharma and having all of these other ideas on the table can really help people to actually find their way and understand that it's not about like just doing the thing in one specific way. There's many ways to skin a cat. How does it operate for your brain, your culture, your experience, all of that? Tori also has struggled with her own level of addiction. And Tori, I would love for you to share about that just a little bit so that our listeners understand you a little bit better and how you relate to all of this and what you've been through.
Yeah, so I was a wild child. I drank pretty early. I mean, the first time, my sister loves to tell this story. The first time I got drunk, I was in sixth grade, and I was at a friend's house after school, and no parents were home, of course. And we found the liquor cabinet, so we literally just put it all together. You know what I'm saying? So it was disgusting. It wasn't like a drink. It was just finding liquor and putting it all in a glass, right? And then it started off as, oh, I do this all the time. Somebody was being big and bad. And then I was like, I have no problem doing it. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm so cool. I'm so big and bad too. And then before you know it, I'm drinking this awful drink, and clearly it messed me up because it was like 4 different types of hard liquor, not even beer or wine. And then we found some cigarettes and we were smoking them. So my sister is riding her bike and she sees me with my friends walking around and I'm drunk and I'm smoking a cigarette in 6th grade. And she's, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And she's, you need to take your ass home right now. And I was like, whatever, you don't know me. And so that was like, and my parents didn't drink. I actually had a very opposite experience in my home. My parents didn't drink. My dad had a bottle of wild turkey that he kept in the top of the cabinet and he would sip on it whenever he had really bad sinus issues, right? And so he would cut it with the wild turkey, right? Because he's a good old Texas boy. But they didn't keep alcohol in the house. And occasionally I would see them drink when we were out in a social event, but it would be like a drink. It wasn't like they had multiple drinks. So I think there was a little bit of fascination with the idea of alcohol because it wasn't necessarily around me all the time. And I did see people drink. It's not like I was secluded from that or anything. They had no problem with me being at parties where their friends were drinking way more than they were, but they just weren't doing it for themselves. And so I always kind of had this idea that that was a good time. That was fun from a very early age. And then I think in 6th grade, I was trying to prove that I was this person that I was maybe not, but just bigger than my britches, right? It's typical kind of growing up. I say typical. Not everybody has that experience. But then whenever I got into my teenage years, I think I really turned to alcohol because it was a way for me to feel comfortable. I felt a little bit socially awkward. And people would not know this about me because I am a very personable person. I mask really well around people. I know how to mimic what people are showing me. It's something I learned early on. I probably have a little bit of the tism going on. For sure, I have ADD. So because of those things, but I was not aware of any of that, right? And so I just felt a little socially awkward. And to take that edge off, I turned to alcohol. And plus, I ran with the party crowd, right? So it wasn't bizarre or weird for me to drink and go to parties and drink. But I look back at it now as an adult, and we did not know how to have a healthy approach to any of it. So it was like, okay, we've got this amount of time to get this done. We're going to get packed as much of it in there as we can, not understanding how long it takes alcohol to actually truly affect your system. We'd be 30 minutes in, 5 shots deep, and then wonder why we have alcohol poisoning. And I think my algorithm on the social media has a very millennial swing about things. And they're like, oh, kids these days don't know what it's like. We didn't have trackers and all that kind of stuff. We were out in the middle of a field dying from alcohol poisoning when we were supposed to be staying at Sarah's house. And that's funny and all, but that is straight up true. There were so many times that I definitely had alcohol poisoning because I was throwing my guts up on a regular basis. But then as I got older, that graduated into, I worked in bars and service industry, so it was very easily accessible to me. I was drinking in bars before I turned 21 because I worked in the industry and I knew how to act, and I was a girl and not bad looking. And so all of those things added up to me being in places I probably shouldn't have been in. And yeah, and so I got pregnant with my son when I was 21, and he saved my life because I was very much in that phase of my life before I got pregnant with him where I literally woke up and I did crave Jaeger and Dos Equis, and it was very unhealthy. I would drink the whole time I worked, and I would literally go to the bathroom, make myself throw up because I just didn't physically have space in my body to drink more fluid, but I still wanted to drink because I wasn't getting whatever effect I was shooting for. And I worked like that. I can't even imagine. If I have a drink now, that one drink makes me like, I don't even know how I would be able to function. And I don't know how I did function. But when I was pregnant with my son, my body literally just shut away and was not allowing me to be around anything that wasn't good for me. So the smell of any type of liquor, alcohol, cigarettes made me just physically sick. And so I had to change my life. There was literally no choice. I look back at it and I say that I had terrible pregnancy sickness. I think I was actually detoxing on top of the fact that I was pregnant and probably did have some morning sickness. And I do know that I'm prone to that because with my second child, I was not drinking like that. I was not partying in those types of ways. And I still did get sick, but it was nowhere near like the type of detox or situation that I felt whenever I was pregnant with my son. And it's just wild. It's been years now. I don't really partake in any of that. And that's not because I've never done recovery or done a 12-step program or anything like that. It was literally just that physical break that my body had to be pregnant and have a child was enough for me to realize. And then when I tried to go back to it after I had it wasn't the same. I tried. Don't get me wrong, Jennifer and I know we met and I was,
What are you
yeah,
talking
no,
about?
for years I tried, but I didn't have the time allowance that I did before a child, right? Because I really was trying to be responsible. And in the relationship that I was in, it was my job to be the responsible one. I would take my moments and I would abuse the shit out of my moments. Do so much in that weekend that the grandparents had the kid. I would just wreck myself. I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Trying to prove to everybody that I could hang. And
And we were doing it every day, dude.
yeah, exactly.
I was an absolute just lunatic. We had it was insanity. I was rabid for many years, and just a freaking lunatic. I thought I was a rock star. I thought I could just run to any wall. I was talking to a friend about this weekend. He was like, "You mess with the fabric of reality." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And you just challenge it. You just like, if you're like, oh, that's not real, we're going to see if it's real. We're just going to test it. We're going to see if this dynamic is a real dynamic or if it's just a dynamic that we invented. Goes back to all of that physics talk and metaphysical stuff and everything else. And my mode to recovery was different. Yours was different because you had to sort out your life because you had kids and because you had to be the responsible one. Marshall, I want to talk more about your like going deep into a little bit more of your story and ask you like what did using give you that nothing else could at the time? Like for me, I know that I could forget about all of these things that really hurt me and caused me shame. I could make excuses for people that abuse me. I could make excuses for people that like I could and not make excuses for just completely forget that they even did it and completely forgive them and exist in like side by side with them and completely just shove down what was being done behind the scenes. And so for me, that like being able to transcend that feeling of heaviness that I was carrying, but I was ignoring, I was like, oh, I'm going to party. Oh, I'm going to go here. Oh, I'm going to be a drug dealer. Oh, I'm going to do all this stupid shit. It was always like, we got to go do this. We got to go do this. It was like, what's the next thing for me? I got to get it done. What's the next thing? What's the next stupid, fucking annoying thing that I can do to piss my family off, to do whatever because I was pissed off and because I didn't understand why I was pissed off because I was ignoring it. So for you, Marshall, what was it solving for you? What was that like for you?
What was it solving for me? For honestly, it was pretty cut and dry. So for me, using was never about feeling good. It was about not feeling bad because I felt bad emotionally. I felt bad physically. And the thing was, is the more that I used, the more consequences I had, the more people I fucking pissed off, the more people didn't want to be around me. So I felt worse. And it was this constant avalanche of just shit coming down. And my only thing is that every moment I'd be like, oh, I'm starting to feel again. It's time to figure out how I'm going to go get that next fix because, like, I'm tired. I don't want to feel this. I hate this. And of course, using some things, there's that physical dependency going into withdrawal, which for me was a big fear motivated factor. I mean, I tried to find this recovery for many years, total of 14 treatment centers. But the thing was, is I would only go to the treatment centers long enough to where I was getting out of the withdrawal. Normally, they would provide medications and things like that. And then as soon as reality sat back in, it's, oh, nope, can't feel this. I can't be here anymore. I got to leave. This is not, I don't want to deal with it. Treatment centers and everything else, all they want to talk about is your feelings and emotions and what's going on inside of you. And I'm like, man, I'm running from this shit. I don't want to fucking deal with this. Because from the time I was very young, all the way up through adolescent, teenage, early 20s, the more that I lived, the more that I hurt. I don't know if that really makes sense to you, but it was my total escape. And it got to a point to where the substances turned on me.
Yeah.
And I would be using and I'd be using and I'd be using, and it would not be doing what I needed it to do.
Yeah.
It was like my best friend, and all of a sudden this, where the fuck did you go, man? This shit ain't working for me anymore. I was that individual that would be in a room full of people and everybody else uses and they're getting all the effects. Then there was me that was mad and pissed off because shit ain't working. Y'all must have given me some bunk shit. You know what I mean? But that wasn't it at all. It was the fact that I got to a point to where it didn't matter how much I was using, it just wasn't going to work for me anymore. And then that's, of course, whenever thoughts of suicide and things like that started kicking in real heavy. Last time I was arrested, whenever they pulled my name up, there was multiple suicide calls. It was just my thing. And yeah, for me, it was using was about not feeling bad.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. And I feel like God was also pushing on you even then. Even at that point, he had his thumb on you so that you would be breaking and so that it would stop working. God is always in control. The drugs are not in control. The guy next to you is not in control. The dude driving the train, not in control. The dude driving the car is not in control. You, while you're driving the car, guess what? Not in control. Because
Yep.
a jackal could run in front of your car. I say jackal because there's freaking coyotes everywhere out here. But yeah, and you could it could be like right before your tire reaction time. You don't have it because guess who's in control? God's in control. And so whenever you get into that place of not wanting to feel, you become the king of pride. And the king of pride is just a devourer of your own consciousness and your own awareness. And so that you become this like basal thing that is just like bleh. And but it's also good for you because it's tearing all of the bullshit away so that you can find that place where you need to go to build it back up. So my next question would be, most people do have a rock bottom story. Was yours like a single moment or was it like a slow erosion? What did it actually feel like from like the inside?
So mine was definitely like that slow erosion from being homeless multiple states, having my dad come and like basically bail me out of homelessness in Los Angeles to coming to Alabama. Then the storage unit where I was found, I broke into it. I had been sleeping in there and it was just, that was probably my ultimate rock bottom. I'm sure we're all aware. It could have been a lot worse. I could have kept using and dug myself even deeper. We do this all the time, but at the same time, like that was my moment that I realized like shit was really fucked up in my life. You know what I mean? Basically, when I'm sitting there on this floor of the storage unit and it was nighttime, I like started crying. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, I'm 41 years old, man. I have never worked a day in my life. My family hates me. I have no friends. Let's be real. The people I just scored all this dough from, they don't even want anything to do with me. I go up and knock on their door and they're like, no, you stay outside. And it's, damn, how did I get here? And like I said, my family dynamic is that they were using and everything, but they held their shit together. They were a pretty decent family. And then here I am, like, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. And at that time, I thought, I just need to kill myself because if I did, I could put myself out of my misery from everything I've ever been doing. And everybody that ever loved me, they wouldn't have to worry about me anymore. It was definitely going to be an easy way out. But like you said, God is in control, God intervened. And I can sit here and say every time that I had my own idea of, or my will of what I wanted to do, since that moment, God's intervened in every way. That night in the storage unit, I begged for help. The next morning, I got arrested. I went to county and I'm sitting there. And finally, I found it out because if I pled into the drug court program, they were going to let me out by 5 o'clock. I done had a bus ticket to go to Humboldt County to grow weed, the whole 9 yards. But unfortunately, the judge refused to let me out of jail. The judge's exact words to me were, if I let you out of jail, you're going to use and you're going to die. And I cussed him out. We had a long conversation, and he should have probably just sent me to prison right there, but he didn't. He was like, you know what? You need help. And that's what your problem is, that you don't even know how much help you really need. So every time that I've tried to do something else since I've asked for this, something happens and it's no. You want this, you're going to go through and you're going to make it. You're going to do the whole thing. You're going to continue this path, whether you like it or not, because this is what you're asking for. So my rock bottom can always be worse. If I pick up, you know what they tell me around here? I don't know how it is everywhere else, but they tell me if you pick up, you're going to pick up right where you left off. Damn. So then I get to basically just start off with wanting to kill myself.
Terrible.
I mean,
You
where
go
else can I go
back
from
to the
there?
shit. You go straight back to the shit. So that's what the episode 2-part series, Love is the Shit, is about. The shit is the material that you go to when you hit rock bottom. And love is found there. That's where love lives. And but you have to be able to be receptive to that. You have to be able to perceive that in order to grow. And not necessarily, it doesn't have to be like the necessary concept of love, but understanding that the cops outside were God. And that being in your understanding, even though you were fucked up, took you from the shit to where you are now. And if you pick up, you right now you're burning the fire to keep the vessel straight. You have everything kicking at the right temp. You don't want to fuck with it, right? And if you fuck with it, then the vessel falls apart and you have to go back to the shit. So don't go back to the shit. Love is there still and will be there to rescue you, but you have to destroy all the other stuff, barnacles that got you there again. So it could just fucking kill you the next time. So instead, let's go ahead and not fucking do that. How does that sound?
Sounds good to
So,
me.
Marshall, how many years have you been sober?
Over 9.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And the fact
Yeah.
that you've accomplished everything that you've accomplished in those 9 years and keeping your sobriety through, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been easy, but I can say this, neither was the life I was living before.
That's right.
Actually, that life was a lot harder on a daily basis than this one is.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast today and he was talking about how he said it different. This is something that I say as a coach, but he said it different. He said that it was like do the thing right the first time or something, but I say the long way is the shortcut. Don't take shortcuts. The shortcut's going to fuck you up. If you go the long way, you'll learn the lessons that you need to learn along the way so that you could get there. And so taking the time to understand that as you're growing through this process, it's a growth process. Life is a growth process. And our growth was stunted by circumstance. Some of the circumstances in the beginning were beyond our control, and then other circumstances arose because of our actions and behaviors. And once we take accountability for that and understand that and know that, hey, this shame was not our fault. This shame might be our fault. This is our responsibility. What is the responsibility that we have to take out of it? And eventually you just understand that you have responsibility over your life, and being accountable and self-aware is valuable. And it helps you to keep everything on the right track, that at least for me. Did you ever, before you had gotten sober 9 years ago, did you ever attempt to get sober? You went through treatment, but was there ever a time that you really attempted to get sober outside of just detoxing and then going back out and using?
No, no, there really wasn't. Every other time that I went to treatment, detoxes, anything like that, it was basically because somebody told me that I needed to do something. And no, I never did. Today is I consider myself that chronic relapser because is what it would be is there'd be a consequence, and then after the consequence, I'm never gonna do that shit again just to find myself doing that shit again 3 hours later.
But are you that chronic relapser? Because I don't think you are. I think that you're
Well,
partial now. I
well,
think
today, correct. Correct. And I really like what you said earlier about doing the work and changing everything. And it's almost like it's a different world from where I was using. I always viewed myself as that chronic relapser. But the thing was, is I had no tools or anything that could help me become any different. And the most I ever tried to stop would be like being on a long bender for a few weeks or a month and then showing up at somebody's house and being like, oh, I'm so sick. I gotta crash out. I gotta stop doing this. And then after I sleep for a while and I'm no longer sick or whatever, then I get up and I run again. It wasn't that I didn't have a desire to stop, but those little tiny attempts to me were just reinforcing the fact that this is just who I am and I shouldn't be stopping and I can't stop. So why bother stopping?
you were just, it was a loop. It was the Ouroboros of lies.
Right.
You have the Ouroboros of generation that creates, and then you have the Ouroboros of lies that destroy, right? And
Yep.
that's what you were stuck in. That was that loop. And I've been stuck there too. And it's ridiculous because luckily I was very spoiled. God knew, right? God knew was like, hey, I need to put it in Jennifer's face and spoil her and let her know it's me because otherwise she's not going to do this. And he sent me people. He sent me people to be as beacons to pluck me out of places where I didn't belong. And I'm so thankful for that. I was on heroin and living in my apartment with my friend who is a criminal, straight up. And like straight up, that dude is, oh my gosh, I love him still to this day, but he is definitely a criminal. I was a kid, I was young, and I knew I was going to rehab. Nobody had told me. Something came to my head. I was sitting across from him at the table. We had just done a shot. And I said, what if tomorrow, whenever I go to my dad's for Christmas, they take me to rehab? And he was like, then you should go. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I want you to stop doing drugs. I love you. And he's sitting there, a criminal on drugs. And he's, you don't deserve this life. And I want you to get the fuck away from me. I'm dragging you down and ruining your life. And hearing that from him while we were sitting there in the same state, like in the same state of mental state, was like, what? I didn't even know that he thought about those things or even cared about that because of the type of person he seemed to be. But really, he was really a very deeply feeling human, which is why I still love him to this day. But at the same time, it was jacked up. So the next day, everything goes haywire. 2 days later, I went to rehab. The next day, everything goes haywire. We were driving around in my car. I was like, had been up for way too many days, and I fell asleep in the passenger seat. And he parked my car and left with his girlfriend. And I woke up and I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where he was. And I lost my mind. I was like driving, crying. It was like this horrible day. And I got into a wreck. My dad with a car full of fucking fat people. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't hate fat people, okay? But these people were so fucking mean to me. Okay. Well, we need some comic relief anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fucking turning left. They're coming this way. I'm crying. I turn. I didn't see them. They sideswipe me. We stop. She gets out of the car. Her forearm it's two of my forearms. And she's pointing at me in my face and she's screaming at me and I'm crying already. Okay. So the person screaming at me while I'm crying, and then everybody's coming out of, I was in North Richland Hills, Texas, and there was like a fucking Kentucky Fried Chicken or something right there. Everybody's coming out of the Kentucky Fried Chicken. See what's going on. I'm a mess. It's the worst. I've got this huge lady in front of me screaming at me. And then out of the car gets all of the rest of her family. And they're also all huge. And they're also yelling at me. So I have all of these people on my side. And it's like a war, right? I have all these people on my side. Like, why are you yelling at this poor girl who is crying? And then I have the brigade of hungry people, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. They were not nice. And I'm not really that sorry. They were rude people. They were not nice to me. But it was just very overwhelming. So my dad comes to get me. The cops are so nice. They didn't give me a ticket, which is ridiculous because I was definitely under the influence of something and probably cocaine. And my dad took me home and he put me to bed and he was like, it's gonna be fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Like nothing was wrong. And so I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why? What is going on? I wrecked my car and then everybody's just chill about it and takes me home and puts me to bed. And then I walk into my dad's house whenever I go there the next day. It's literally December 23rd. It's December 23rd in Texas though, so I was wearing shorts. And which Marshall can relate to because he's in Alabama.
Yep.
And I walk in and my dad, stepmom, grandma, godfather, and some lady who I only assumed to be my godfather's girlfriend because I had never seen her before were all in my dad's living room and they're like, hi, this is an intervention. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking knew it. And I sat down and the lady, she was like, I'm your new best friend. She was like really extra. She's super in my face. And she was like, I'm your new best friend. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, who? And we are fucking gangsters. I don't know if you know this, but I was like, not having some blonde chick in my fucking face, dude. Like, hell no. So I was like, what the fuck? No, not happy. What are you talking about? And they're like, you're going to Southern California to the Wits Inn, Dana Point, California. And I knew I was going to California and everything. It's so wild because in that fucking conversation, I was like, I sure do want to go to California randomly whenever me and were having that conversation 2 days before. And then they're like, we're taking you to California. And they showed me a picture of the house, and the house is dope. And I was like, okay. And then they showed me a picture of some dude that looked like Santa Claus. And they're like, look, it's Christmas. One of our counselors looks like Santa Claus. That dude was the anger management counselor, and he's the biggest fucking asshole there. Okay?
Oh, oh.
Oh, oh.
Dang.
People think I'm a bit of a hard nose. I was like, you fucking think? Are you here just to make me mad? He's like, yes. Absolutely. So, and then I get to rehab. I was planning my escape. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I fucking mapped it back to Texas, what I would have to do. I had a fucking plan, everything. But then I was there for 2 weeks And I got through detox, heroin detox. Everybody was good to me. They loaded me up with a bunch of fucking vitamins and medicine. And I just slept my way through detox. This is my first detox. I slept my way through detox. And freaking by 2 weeks in, I was like, all right, I kind of like it. There's a beach. We could fucking, we could go, I could go outside. There's bonfire NA meetings. It was cool. So I started liking it. And I think that liking it really helped me with my recovery because I was able to connect with people that I wouldn't have typically connected with, people that really kind of wanted to kick my ass, people that really wanted to knock my block off for no fucking reason. But also, I'm a little bit brody and a little bowdy. So yeah, probably wasn't gonna happen. But that's the story for a different day. But yeah, so that was my first bout. Then my friend saved me the second. And I didn't have my dad to put me in rehab and powder my ass and everybody to cook me meals and do all the things. Because in rehab, I was fucking spoiled. My dad was pissed because I was spoiled. He was like, everybody's spoiling you here. What the fuck? And I was like, I deserve it. And then the second time, I was literally saved by my friend Billy Andrews. And I'll say his full name on here because he deserves the full recognition because that dude has saved my life more than once. And he put me in a place where I could detox from drugs and brought me chocolate every day and made sure I was fed and really helped me to get on my feet in spite of my own self. And it didn't take that time either, but it was the help and the thought really did help me to heal now. And so that means a lot to me. What I would ask my next question, who was still standing beside you when you were at your worst? And who walked away? And do you blame them? Marshall.
That's an easy one. I Everybody walked away from me. I can say that throughout my entire life, the two people that were always there for me were my grandparents. I could literally tell somebody, hey, will you call them and have them wire money to California to like Walmart to Walmart, and they would do it. My grandparents were definitely the ones that stood by my side. Everybody else just walked away, or at least appeared to have walked away. My mom, everybody else in my family, they basically loved me from a distance. Once I got to a point that I started my recovery journey, they all kind of come back into my life. But my grandparents were the ones that definitely stuck by my side. And today I actually live next door to them and I take care of them. My grandfather, holy shit, man, he's fucking 101 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
And so they were the ones that stuck by my side. And the crazy thing about that is every time throughout my entire life that I would actually see my grandparents and beg for money or whatever else, my grandmother would walk me out to the car, walk me out and watch me walk down the road, whatever the case may be, from the time I was like a small kid all the way till I got lost in Los Angeles. And she would stand out there and she'd just wave and she'd say bye. So I got clean and I was going over there and I walked in one day and I helped her do some stuff. And I was like, okay, so I'm leaving. And I expected her to walk me out and she didn't. And I'm like, what the hell did I do now? Second time I went over there and same thing. It was like, what the fuck, man? Why isn't she walking me out? Third time I went over there, I think I cut their grass or some shit. And then I said, okay, so I'm leaving. And she said, all right, I'll see you later. And I lost my shit. I'm like, okay. So as far back as I can remember, you've always walked me out. You've always fucking waved at me, watched me leave and all this. And now the past three times you haven't. What's the deal with that? And she looked at me with a straight face and she said, now I know I'm going to see you again.
Wow.
And that was like the moment that I realized just how much I had really fucking hurt everybody. So they stood by my side. And since they were always there for me from that moment on, that's the moment that I decided I have to buy the property next door. I have to help take care of them. I've been taking care of them. I've lived there for 8 years. I cut their grass, remodeled their kitchen, remodeled their house, just did a giant back deck for them. I did all these things, not because they asked me to, but because they were always there for me. So I work long hours, multiple places, and 7 days a week. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I take my dogs and we go outside and we walk over to their house and I'll sit down and I'll have a cup of coffee with them every single morning.
That's
And
awesome.
that's just to put their mind at ease to know that everything is still okay. And that's what my sponsor said, the living amends, which is the one that to me is always the hardest because it's the one you have to do every day. But it's the one that's worth it. And I also know that I'm on limited time with them. So those were probably the people that stuck by my side the entire time, but also the ones that I hurt the most.
Yeah. You had mentioned that your immediate family, your parents, they
Mhm.
used as well. I'm wondering now in your sobriety, how, if you don't mind sharing, what are those relationships like? Are they sober as well, or how is that?
Okay, so I'd say my dad still lives in California and now he's the whole California sober thing.
Yeah.
And my mom, she's pretty much the same thing. She lives in Missouri now and she smokes a little weed.
Mhm.
But like when I go to visit, I can smell it in the house, but it's like she won't bring it out. She won't talk about it, nothing. My dad's the same way. It's been a weird journey for me with them
Yeah.
because, especially with my dad, for the longest time, I held on to this resentment and this anger that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have turned out the way that I did and like all this stuff. But I have a daughter, and the thing is my dad actually made himself vulnerable and he wanted to talk about when I was growing up. And he's, yeah, like when you were growing up, like the things we did, when he was breaking down, he had tears in his eyes. And the one thing I thought I wanted was for him to acknowledge that it's his fucking fault. At that time, I'm like, oh my God. So I stopped him and I was like, well, let's just blame it on drugs and alcohol and move on. Rebuilding that relationship is weird because we only knew each other from drugs. You know what I mean? That's like the only commonality we had. So now we try to build an awkward relationship together. And both of us are making efforts, which is great. We've had a lot of breakthroughs with our relationship. Same thing with my mom. I have, like I said, I have a daughter, but whenever she was really young, like I lost her. My mom took her from me. That's so I'm grateful for the family that I have. I'm grateful that they did what they did. Rebuilding those relationships isn't the easiest thing, but those are the things that seem to be the most treasured for me.
Yeah. That makes sense. I can totally see how that would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things that we forget to hold sacred whenever we are, and then society spells the desire to hold things sacred. You're supposed to just consume and not care and whatever else. And so we kind of get run into this bottleneck of just bombardment with negative influences over time with what's on television and everything else. I talk a lot about nutrition, but nutrition's not just what you're eating, it's what you're putting in your mind and have around you, and what you hold sacred matters too. And those things should be kept, that like it should be, all of this stuff matters. Having good values matters, standing up for your family matters, drink coffee with your grandparents matters. Like that, those are, they seem like little day-to-day things that don't matter, but they matter the most. And I'm learning this as I go as well. This is a learning experience. This is not, and I don't believe that life is supposed to be just straightforward and everybody has it all figured out. I think that every single thing that we do is a lesson, good or bad. And it's never really good or bad. It's like the Chinese farmer, right? Like they came and stole his horses and he's, maybe it's bad, maybe it's good, who cares? And then his son breaks his leg and they try to draft him and then maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, who cares, we'll figure it out, we'll see what happens. And leaning into novel experiences and not falling back on familiarity can be really tough, but it's really important. And so finding different avenues to be able to go forward is super important, and having these deep conversations about your experience, Tori's experience, my experience, helps people to see there's so many differences in where we've been, how we got to where we are, what transpired in our lives. There's big differences. There's very many similarities that you can find along the way too. The similarities are like, we need each other, dude. Period. We need help.
Yeah.
We need to understand that we're not just rocks here by ourselves on this. No, we're all connected and it matters. You matter to me, Marshall. Tori, you matter to me. Like,
Yeah.
you guys, I hold you guys sacred. Like, we sit here and have this conversation, but now I know you, Marshall. So you're sacred to me. You matter. Your heart matters, right? So I'm going to stand up for you. I'm going to defend you because you've shared your heart with me. I'm going to be here for you because you shared your heart with me. And I think people being able to just do that on a switch, like I've had 2 conversations with you. Knowing you through these 2 conversations, I can safely say you are worthy of love. You are enough. You are amazing. And what you've done is remarkable. And because of that just love that I can give to you, you are already sacred. And having people understand that it's okay to have those feelings for each other after 2 conversations. It's okay to see people. It's okay to connect with each other. We need it. It's so super vital. So if you could go back to the version of you that was the deepest in it, what would you say to that person?
I really don't know. That's a very similar question to if you could change anything in your life, what would it be? Honestly, I wouldn't change anything, and I probably wouldn't even say anything. I would just let it play out exactly how it's supposed to play out. Maybe don't give up. That would be about it. But honestly, everything that's ever happened, every conversation, everything is pretty much led me to this moment, and there's no other place I'd rather be.
Yeah.
Courtney Love posted something. She's not always my favorite, but she posted something last week that was pretty profound. And it was a picture of her and she's holding Francis, and it looks like she's probably nodding out. But she could just be closing her eyes and puckering her lips for the camera, but there's no way to know with Courtney, right? Especially during that time. And her caption on it was, I wish I could go back and tell her that she's doing better than she thought. And
That's actually a pretty good one.
yeah, I think that's a really good one.
I wish I could go back and just. I'm in the same boat as you, Marshall. I would not change anything. Every ounce of what I've been through has led me to who I am today. And I like who I am today. I love who I am today. I see the impact of who I am today on the people around me. And I wouldn't give that up for anything. But I think I would go back and maybe just be there with me, that old version of me, because that old version of me was hurting. That old version of me was
Sure.
scared and continued to do the things that I knew were self-destructive. I knew they were self-destructive in the moment, but I didn't know what else to do. And so I think I would go back and just be there and give myself a hug and just say, I'm here and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
I'd probably be a smart ass and be like, buckle up for safety, motherfucker. It's gonna be a wild ride.
Why are you being such a pussy right now, Jennifer? Fuck, get up,
Or it's just gonna
Jen.
be one of those things I'd be like, it'll be all right, don't worry.
That's what I say. One of my clients today, one of my clients that I had today, but she tells me all the time, she's gonna make me T-shirts that say "It's gonna be okay," because I always say that. I'll be like, pick up that weight. She's like, but it's heavy. But like, you're gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay.
It's funny because at my work we have Genesis shirts that on the back of them they say it's okay to not be okay.
Yep.
In my gym, it's not okay to not be okay.
Right. I get it.
But yes, I probably would be like yelling in my own face if I'm being honest, because it would be like, what the fuck? Get up. You have so much talent. You're so amazing. You're so charismatic. You're so bright. You're such a shining star. Why the fuck are you fucking sticking needles in your arm? That's the dumbest shit ever. Don't be a dick, man. That's probably what I would say, honestly. But the Courtney Love thing was really romantic and kind and nice to myself, right? So what do you want people still in it, still struggling to hear from you today, Marshall?
I would probably have to say the one thing that I want them to know is that it's never too late, that we can always start over, and that there is a better way of life out there for them. I think so many of the individuals that get caught up in that whole lifestyle, it becomes normal to them and they feel like they're stuck and they're trapped, they can't get out, or they've tried the attempt to stop and they were unable to, but that doesn't mean that it's over for them. I mean, unfortunately, returning to youth is a part of many individual stories, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Yeah, play the tape all the way to the end, right? But like,
Yeah.
yeah, your story's not over. You just are having setbacks over and over.
That part of their story is actually what's going to help somebody else later on.
That's exactly right. I was literally about to say that because Marshall, your story is powerful. It's moving. You know what I'm saying? And without you having that lived experience, your impact on the people that you touch on a daily basis wouldn't be as important. And so,
Yeah.
and I think even those people that are struggling with it right now, and they might feel like they're having they're in that loop, right? That same setback over and over again, to know that there's a possibility that on the other side of that is something great that they might not even know that they're capable in that moment of. And
Yeah.
that's huge. That's important.
Yeah. One of the biggest things in our field is to be able to sit there and look at somebody and actually say, I know how you feel. I remember when I felt hopeless. I remember when I felt like I couldn't do this. And all of a sudden it's like a bond. They're like, wait, you did this? You've been there? I recently did a class and I had one of the guys raise their hand and they're like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you used to use? And I'm like, oh, motherfucker, man, if you only fucking knew, man. You know what I mean? They were like, I just can't picture you getting high. And I'm like, at one point, you couldn't picture me not.
Where are you headed? Where are you building? What are you stepping into next?
I'm in this field. I just become an owner of this company. I work closely with my county's drug court, which was probably out of all my recovery. That's been like my most moment was going from the drug court participant to being on the team and sitting with the judge most of the days. My next adventure is I literally bought a house and I'm closing on it next Wednesday. And from there, I'm looking at buying at least 3 or 4 more houses so that I can do some sober livings. And that instead of people sitting in jail waiting to get out to go to treatment or things like that, is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring them to the houses and possibly begin a different treatment journey for them. I'm tired of watching people sit in jail and not having any kind of therapy, no kind of treatment, no kind of nothing, just more of that addict mentality, more of that behavior. I think around here is what we really need to do is get them out and give them some hope and get them some help.
Where can people find you if this conversation moved something in them?
You know how to find me. I'm all over social media. I don't go by Marshall Metz. I go by MG Metz. Can call Genesis Counseling and Consulting, which is in Saraland. And I'll also throw my cell phone out there. I don't care. Everybody has it. They need it. I'm always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've gotten myself out of bed at 3 a.m., drove 2 counties over just to pull somebody else out of a bad situation and take them somewhere safe.
That's amazing. I appreciate you so much. And I thank you for being on my podcast today. I think that we had a beautiful conversation and I'm excited to know you and I'm grateful for you and I'm grateful for your recovery and for your story. And I honor just your life, man. You deserve it. You've done well.
Yeah,
Well,
agreed. 100%.
thank you both. I'm really grateful I had the opportunity to do this. This is really cool.
Awesome. I hope to hear from you soon and talk to you soon. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you for being on the Rough Diamond podcast. And thank you to our listeners for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.